But first, there was a milestone moment last week at the Maine State House when all of Maine's tribal chiefs gathered to address the full legislature.
It has only happened once before in 2002, and last week's speeches were a sign of what seems to be a growing recognition of the importance of the Maine tribes. 207's Don Kerrigan was there and talked with some of the chiefs. Hi, Don.
Yeah, it was quite an event, certainly, and that's quite an issue that we're going to hear a lot more about. You know, Maine's native tribes, all four of them, have been facing a lot of challenges over the years, but the tribes seem to be on the rise, and the Wabanaki people as a whole appear more energized, more organized than ever, eager to reach out to the public and to ask to be more involved with decision making in state government. And that relates to the issue of tribal sovereignty, which was the key topic as the tribal chiefs met with the legislature. In a building accustomed to ceremony, this was one not seen or heard in more than 20 years.
The Honorable Clarissa Sabattis, Chief of the Holton Band of the Maliseet Indians.
The five chiefs of Maine's native tribes, Penobscot, Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Micmac, were given a welcome equal to any governor. And with many other tribal members watching and listening, the chiefs all told the legislators they want a new relationship with state government.
We want an opportunity to self-determine our prosperity, our future.
Today is beyond symbolic.
The Land Claim Settlement Act of 1980 was to resolve land claims. It was never meant to hinder economic development and dissolve our sovereign right to make decisions on our own lands.
For the tribes, sovereignty, the right to govern themselves, has become the central issue in their relationship with the state. It dates back to the Maine Indian Land Claim Settlement in 1980, when the tribes agreed to basically come under state control. Virtually all the other tribes around the country fall under federal regulation.
I know historical trauma is kind of a buzzword sometimes, but this law, this 40-something-year-old law, is a source of some of that.
We talked with Chief Clarissa Sabattis of the Holton Band of Maliseets and Chief Kirk Francis of the Penobscot Indian Nation.
This whole effort is really about restoring dignity to this relationship and allowing tribal nations to rebuild themselves, sense self-determination.
The goal, they say, is to have the tribal governments control what happens on their land, from taxes to business development to enforcing environmental laws and even some criminal laws.
When we talk about sustenance rights, for example, or water quality standards, that's not about some flexing of muscle to have the authority to put standards in place. That's about being able to protect the very things that a sovereign government should be protecting when governing a cultural people.
The chiefs say that getting real sovereignty would let the Maine tribes access a range of federal assistance programs that could help bring more business and jobs.
And then they've made these laws over the years to help our governments thrive, and we haven't had access to those.
Chief Sabattis pointed to a recent study by researchers at Harvard concluding that Maine's tribes have lost out on opportunities for economic growth.
He talked about how the rest of the nation, as far as tribal or Indian country, is really just gone far beyond what we've been able to do.
In Maine, for example, we were trying to permit a wind farm. This was 20 years ago. The state insisted on doing the permitting on our land. We insisted on doing the permitting. The investor said, I'm not putting $200 million into this project if I got to deal with two processes.
Would sovereignty open more doors to financing and things like that?
Yeah, definitely, because it creates a situation, like I said, where you could say to a company, we're going to partner together.
The tribes were granted the right last year to begin online sports gambling. That follows years of trying unsuccessfully to get permission to open a casino, as many other tribes across the country have done. But the chiefs say that is not their primary goal. What would sovereignty mean to you and your people, your kids and all that, on a personal basis, even an emotional basis?
Well, I mean, it would mean everything. And, you know, when you mentioned, you know, how important is gaming, would you pursue it again? I tell you what, right now I would sign my rights away to gaming forever to get the rest of this package. And I think that it's about restoring dignity, self-worth into people.
You know, to be able to feel respected and valued as, you know, an important part of Maine and its history would be amazing.
The tribes are again talking with the legislature about passing another tribal sovereignty bill. Governor Janet Mills has opposed tribal sovereignty in the past, arguing there are many potential problem areas. The governor and the tribal chiefs all say they want to meet and talk. Now, Governor Mills did not attend those speeches, the State of the Tribes addresses. Her office said the governor had a prior commitment. The chiefs said that the governor did invite them to meet with her earlier in that day, but some of them could not attend that. And as just mentioned, both sides have told us they do want to meet. This is clearly a really complex issue, a lot of history, a lot of detail, and a lot of emotion stretching back over 40 years. Whether they can come to an agreement this year, we'll have to wait and see.
And you started covering this issue as a young reporter back in?
Oh, probably 1976, when the first word of the Indian land claims, as it was called, came out, and the concern of a threat to the legal title of real estate over much of Maine, and it continues.
It does indeed. Thank